You hear how bad that sounds? It's no good. You grab the new one, you don't hear nothing. All right, y'all, welcome back to Philly D's Garage. So today we got the Buick Regal GS in the garage. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the water pump on this car, which is right here. Now this 3800 is supercharged, but it's pretty much the same thing for any GM 3800. If you got the supercharger, it's just a couple more things you got to do to get it out, but the pump is the same and the process is pretty much the same. So let me show y'all the new water pump. It is an AC Delco water pump. It comes with a paper gasket, but every time I do these water pumps, at least in my personal cars, I always get the metal reinforced gasket, and it's by Felpro. I'll be using Xerox GM Dexacool fluid. So now, being as though that this is supercharged, like I said, it is a couple more things you got to do to get it out, but it's minimum. So when you're taking off these belts, make sure you check these belts and change them if you have to. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the supercharger belt. So to get the supercharger belt off, all you want to do is come down to this tensioner right here, get your 15 and swing it back like that to get the belt off. So I got the supercharger belt off. Now if you look in here, this supercharger idler pulley is going to be right in the way of one of your water pump bolts. So you got to take this pulley off in order to get to that bolt. So taking off this belt and taking off this pulley are the two things you'll have to do if your car is supercharged to get this water pump out. So got the belt off. Let me screw this pulley out. Now before I forget, you want to drain your coolant out, so you can either use the petcock that's on the driver's side of your radiator to drain it out, or you could just take the water pump off and let it drain out, which is what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to mess with that drain, because on these 3800s a lot of times they just be hard to get out. I could get it out, but I ain't gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna let it drain from here and get the coolant out that way. So that's up to your discretion of how you want to do that, but take a 15 if you got a supercharged 3800 and take this pulley off. All right, so we got that pulley off, which is right here. It's just the idler pulley. So we got that off. So the next thing you want to do now is come up here. If you got a strut bar like this, it comes all the way across your engine bay like that. Basically, these are used to, you know, keep your car more rigid, more stiff. So we got to take that off so I can get this coolant bottle out the way, and that'll give me more space up in here to get to this water pump. So once you take this nut out, put it together like this so you won't lose it. So out the way, lift this up. Now you get these wires out the way. All right, so next thing you're gonna do is take these little 10mm fasteners off so you can get this coolant reservoir out the way. So we got the reservoir out the way, the coolant reservoir. So now we can take 15mm on this tensioner, which is the serpentine tensioner, and same thing like we did for the supercharger, but this time we're going to go reverse, and you should be able to take this belt off. All right, y'all, so now we got both supercharger belt and the serpentine belt off. Now we could get to this water pump, and I can show you guys exactly why I'm changing it. So you can see that pump, see the pulley? The pulley is literally moving, all right? And all these nuts here are tight. So that means the bearing inside of the water pump is bad. So the water pump is not leaking. Motherfucker. The water pump is not leaking, so if you got a bad water pump, which you'll get, like if you look on the new one, I think that's the hole right there. No, that's not the hole. Yeah, it's the hole. So when your water pump goes bad, they naturally start leaking coolant from out of the weep holes, and you'll see it on the ground of your car. So that's one way you can tell that your water pump is going bad, because it'll start leaking. And that's any water pump. They all got weep holes, and they'll let you know basically, yo, you know, your internals of your water pump is bad. So that's one way a water pump can go bad, or the bearing inside here can go bad. You know what I mean? It has a bearing in there. So once it start having play, then you know it's bad. So, and that was the thing that was wrong with mine. Like I was driving, and all of a sudden I heard this like real loud noise, and I was like, what the, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, not this car, because I know this car ain't really had no issues like that. So the last time I changed this water pump was like, I think 2013. Is crazy, because I usually get my stuff from Rock Auto, but depending on what it is, I'll cross-reference it to Amazon and order it from Amazon. So I did the same thing this time, went on Rock Auto, bam, put the number in, you know, so you could get that 2-day shipping or that 1-day shipping. So I went on there and it said last time purchase was 2013. So I was like, wow, this water pump literally been in here since 2013. So it's not leaking. That's why you got to have a good gasket. So yeah, I'm only changing this water pump because of this bearing here. And this a lot of, see this, look how much that is moving. That's a lot. That's a lot of play right there. And with this car being supercharged, you know, making all that horsepower, man, you really don't want to be driving like that. And it's crazy, when I first popped the hood and I looked, I thought it was my tensioner pulley at first, but it wasn't. So you want to check, make sure you check all your pulleys on your supercharged system, your regular serpentine system. So yeah, so I didn't mention, don't take your belt off before you release these bolts here, because it might be pretty difficult to get off. So I'm going to use my ratchet to get these off, so I wasn't worrying about trying to get it off before I took the belt off. So so just keep that in mind. So let's rip these bolts off real quick. All right, y'all, so I got the pulley off. Here's the pulley here. They are 8mm. So as you can see, I went and got me something to hold my stuff so I won't drop anything else. It's Amsoil, baby. So next, what you want to do, so what we got here, and look, as y'all can see, well, I was using 2 hands, but I can literally move this bearing, which is crazy. So it's pretty bad. So you got I think you got 4 10 mils and or 3/8, because I think from what I can remember, these are 3/8. And then you got four 13 millimeters or 1/2 inch. So let me show y'all on here, so it'll be a little easier for y'all to see. Might be your first time doing this. So you got the big bolts here, the 13s here and here. All right. And then you got the smaller bolts up here, which are 10 mils. Now, one of these are a dial indicator. I think it's this one here. And then I think you got one down here, I believe. So you really can't put this thing on wrong, because it's a dial indicator, which means you got to sit it right on that little spot that's dedicated for that spot. So you really can't put this water pump on backwards. All right, you can't go wrong with that. So so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take those bolts off, get this water pump off. We're going to clean the surface. Now, here we are here. I don't know if y'all can see down there. Let me get the flashlight. I don't know if y'all can see that bolt way back here. It's right behind the power steering pump. So that's why you got to take this power steering pump off to get to that pump. So, or that bolt. So to get the pump out, you want to spin this pulley around, and you got to dig through the holes inside the pulley to get the two bolts off that's holding on a power steering pump, which I think are 13s as well. So that's what you want to do. So in fact, I'm going to do that first. Yeah, because there's no reason to take these bolts off until I get off that power steering pump. So let's do that. All right, so hopefully y'all can see that, but I'm taking out the power steering bolt now. So you just screw it out just like this. And the other bolt should be on the opposite side of that. They're pretty long bolts, so just keep screwing and screwing and screwing until they come all the way out. As you can see, power steering pump is loose. That's not the pulley moving, that's the whole pump. All right, so just keep screwing out, screwing out, screwing out. You might need a magnet to pull it out. But as you can see, this pump is coming out. So I just gotta get that bottom bolt out. All right, so here's the top bolt. Oh, fuck. It hit the ground, so we good. So all right, so all I gotta do is get the rest of the other bolt out, and then we can slide this pulley to the side. All right, y'all, so as you can see, I got the power steering pump leaning to the side down there. Got the two bolts, so it's only two bolts that hold in that power steering pump. So all y'all gotta worry about is two bolts. So now that we got that power steering pump out the way, you can get to this bolt that's down here that was sitting behind the pulley. All right, so all we got to do is get those 4 big bolts and the 4 smaller bolts, and this water pump should come off. All right, y'all, so got the water pump off. Here's the old water pump. As you can see, I did use a little RTV back when I did it. But what you want to do is, if you want to use RTV, what I do is I put it on the part side, not the block side. So now if you look down here on the block side, it's really not that much residue I got to clean off. It's really nothing really. So you don't want to gunk up the block side with RTV, because then you'll be in here scraping it off forever. So you pretty much just got to let the gasket do what the gasket is meant to do. So This RTV right here is pretty much just to keep the gasket in place, so when I put the water pump on, now I let the coolant drain out of the jackets. These bolts here go into water pump jackets, so when you take these off, make sure you clean these off and then seal them with thread sealant, which I got. So you could clean this off either with a wire brush or a power wire wheel, which is what I'm going to use. Then put thread sealant back on them so they won't leak. Also, if you change in your camshaft sensor, it is right here on these 3800s, so you're going to have to take off that water pump pulley at least to get to this sensor. All right, and depending on what tool you use, you might have to slide the power steering pump to the side the same way we already did to get to that sensor. So ironically, I've never had an issue with either one of my Buick Regals with these camshaft sensors, so that's kind of crazy. So make sure when you drain the coolant out, you want to clean these pulleys off, because you don't want your pulley to be saturated with coolant, because that may cause a squeak. So you want to make sure you do that. Now this is the old pump. I can feel the play in this bearing, so it's not good. Let me set this up real quick so I can show y'all what it sounds like. All right, so this is the old water pump. You hear how bad that sounds? It's no good. When you grab the new one, you don't hear nothing. So that's what a good water pump should sound like. No play, no back and forth, none of that. Go back to the old one. So now y'all know, when I told you I heard a real loud squeak noise, it was coming from this. That's really bad. So that's crazy. I never had a noise from this until the one time I did, and there it is. All right, so I did want to show you guys those two indicators that I was talking about. These dial indicators. So here's one here. So your water pump is going to slide right over that, and you got another one on the bottom side right here. All right, so there is two of them. So once you slide the water pump on, like I said, there's only really one way you could put the water pump on, so you really can't mess up. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean whatever imperfections is on the face of this water pump mounting surface, and I'm gonna slide the new water pump on and bolt it up. All right, y'all, so I just cleaned off a few bolts on a wire wheel, but I figured I'd show y'all this. While I'm cleaning off these bolts, like this is the old thread sealant that I put on these bolts the last time I did the water pump. So you got to clean that off and reuse new sealant, which I'll be using Pontiac thread sealant. But I wanted to show y'all, if you're using a paper gasket or a metal gasket, you can put a little RTV around a water pump like I did here, and sit something on top of it to keep the gasket in place, so when you go to put it on, it won't be moving around too much. The metal gasket is a little harder to keep in place because it's a little more stiffer than these gasket paper ones, but you know, just do whatever you got to do to keep it in place. I'm just doing that because I'm cleaning off these bolts, so I figured I'd let that sit while I do that. But again, if you want to put sealant on the block side, that's up to you, but like I did my old one, as you can see here, I only used a little bit of RTV on the water pump side, you know, just to keep the gasket in place, but it also helps to seal the water pump. But It's up to you if you want to use it on both sides or not. But again, in this application, I'm only doing it on the water pump side, on the opposite side of the gasket. I'm not doing it on the block side. So once I clean up these bolts, we're gonna throw the water pump on. All right, y'all, so I got the water pump bolted back in, got all the bolts in. So now all I have to do is put the pulley back on the water pump, slide the power steering pump back in, and put those two bolts back in, and then slide this idler pulley back in for the supercharger, put the two belts back on, and then I'll show you guys how to bleed it. All right, y'all, so before I put the water pump pulley back on, just wanted to show y'all that the pulley has dial indicators as well, just like the water pump. So if you're trying to get this thing on a water pump, if you're trying to line it up to get your bolts in, all you really have to do is line up these little indicators with the hole on the water pump itself. So you really can't put it on backwards. Just line it up and then put your four bolts back in, and then you're good. All right, y'all, so everything's back together now. If you need a belt diagram to put your two belts on, if you have a supercharger, it's right here. All right, so everything's back together now. So now we can just bleed the cooling system. So you want to take your cap off like this. All right, now in this car, I'm not going to use my spill-free funnel. I usually use those, but the way these radiator caps are angled on these 3800, just like you don't want the whole funnel just leaning to the side like that, so I'm not going to use it. So on these 3800, your bleeder screw is right here. So you just take an 8mm socket and screw that loose. You don't have to take it all the way out. Now, as you're filling your radiator up, you know, some air is going to come out of here, and once you see some fluid flowing out of there, you can screw that, tighten that back up, and then put your radiator cap back on, let it run for a while, and then every now and then you just come here, take your screw cap off, and you know, let the bubbles come out, and that's how you bleed it. All right. So can't get my words out, but that's what we're gonna do next, and make sure everything is flowing right. All right, y'all, so y'all can see I got fluid flowing from out of this bleeder screw, and you can also burp it from here. Y'all hear that? So you can push the air out by squeezing this hose too. So you want to get as much air out as possible, and then, you know, you keep going as you run the engine and get more out that way. So all right, y'all, we inside the Buick. Got it running right now. It's kind of loud, so that's why I came inside. But as y'all can see, we are almost to the halfway mark, so we warming up. Starting to get heat right now. Starting to feel good, so we know the water pump working right. As y'all can see, it's almost up to 120 degrees, so starting to warm up. So yeah, that's how you do a water pump on a 3800. Pretty much from like, man, probably like 95 to like 2015 or something like that for this, you know, for these 3800. So but yeah, make sure you get heat. Make sure you checking the bleeder screw every few minutes while this thing is running. Let it get warmed up, and you should